Welcome to the video, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking to Carl Benjamin from the Akkad Daily channel, and now part of the new free speech group Hearts of Oak that was launched on Friday the 28th of February this year, which is going to be the subject we will be talking about today. Nice to have you back on the channel after our live stream last year.
Yeah, it was a good live stream, and thanks for having me back.
Now, before we start with the questions I have for you, this is being called a loose alliance in defence of free speech and not a political party. So give us a quick rundown on why you got involved with Hearts of Oak.
Well, one of the things that one notices if you look back at how social issues are changed, they're always changed through social movements. Like slavery ended because of the abolitionists. They weren't a political party, but they were an activist organisation, because when you have activist groups that represent large numbers of people, that generally implies that the sentiment on which whatever's driving them has some wide reach across society in general. And if you get like 100,000 signatures on a petition, that means that if you were to poll the general public, you'd probably find that quite a few of them agree. So it's worth the government listening to this to make sure that it's continuing to do things in line with public opinion, because as we've all realised from the last election, public opinion matters when it comes to elections. So as if I shouldn't have to say that, but that's why it's worth the government's actually paying attention to all of these groups. I mean, look at the Islamic ones that are influencing things, like the Muslim Council of Britain and all that. Surveys have shown that literally like 5% of Muslims give a damn about this organisation at all, and yet they speak on behalf of Islam in Britain to our government. And so essentially we felt that we had to create some kind of identifiable political entity, even not a political party, but an alliance, a movement, an organisation. Well, is it even an organisation? It's a website and a statement of issues that you would like to see addressed. And I think that's a really good idea. I think that's the first step to. We're probably not going to be able to win like political power, obviously. I mean, none of us are professional politicians. We don't have any of the connections. We don't have the backgrounds required. I don't have the education for it. Blah blah. But political pressure groups find their sympathetic politicians and hopefully can get things done, especially when there's real moral force behind some of the things that are happening, some of the demands that are being made, and there really is behind Hearts of Oak. I mean, the first thing I think that we should be going for with it is to get the Conservatives to release the grooming gang reports. That just strikes me as the most natural first thing, because addressing the issue of grooming gangs is on the list of things on their website. If you check out heartsofoak.org, you can see there's about 6 points on there. I think it was 8 points on there that of things they just want to address. And they're all just, I mean, in another world, they'd just be called common sense. Like, these things wouldn't be problems. But in this world, because we're dominated by political correctness, we have to form a movement to try and get some sort of common sense returned to politics.
Yeah, you have to understand that common sense is now bigoted. So
that's true.
I fully get what you mean. But okay then, we'll move on to our first question now. Right, and we will start with the media, as that is one of the key issues listed on the Hearts of Oak website, as you said. Now, firstly, I noticed the complete radio silence from any major media organisation, even though they was told about the event in advance. So, tell us about some of the aims and goals around the media, and of course, your thoughts on why there was a complete media blackout on the event itself.
Okay, so the media are well aware that they've been setting the moral tenor of the nation for quite some time. When it came to privatising the BBC, or making it a subscription model, if not privatised, sorry, who was it? Who's the guy in charge of the BBC now? The other one stepped down. The Director General of the BBC. I can't remember his name. It's a new one.
I think it's just a standing one for the minute.
He said he objected to making the BBC a subscription service and making it mandatory on the grounds that the BBC pulls the nation together. It gives us a common social fabric, which makes you wonder how we ever got by without the BBC before, doesn't it? We had a common social fabric before the BBC, but afterwards we won't. Interesting thought. I think what he's really saying there, whether he actually knows it or not, but I think he knows it more than he doesn't, is that they are the ones setting the moral and political agenda for the country. And you can see this in just how reactionary, how quick to jump the Conservatives and any other political party is when it comes to any kind of media report that might make them look bad, upon which a denial is all that is required to at least attempt to distance oneself from it. Like allegations of anti-Semitism or racism, for example, they're incredibly powerful. They go around the media like wildfire because it gives the media lots of clicks. Oh, look, new scandal, and it gives them influence over the politicians. The politicians have become whipped into a very narrow column of what they're allowed to talk about. And on that note, you would think that the founder of the Brexit Party, Catherine Blakelock, Tommy Robinson, and I suppose to a lesser extent myself, the fact that we're on a stage with other activists, Wale, I can't pronounce his surname because I'm useless with foreign words, Pastor Wale was there too. He's a very influential speaker in some regards. And you would think that this would be significant because these have been people who have had a significant impact on the public and political dialogue in the country. And yet, as you said, radio silence. It was just our broadcast, my team that was there. So thank God I have enough backers to maintain a team with. And Russia Today, or Rupley, which, that branch of Russia Today that does the video recording or whatever it is, they were the only people that were there. And so, yes, it's very interesting. But thankfully, the opposition have noticed that it exists and have already started legitimizing it by attacking it. The sort of like Tommy Robinson exposed Facebook pages and all these, all the very radical left, we hate everything about Britain pages have already said, we hate this because the symbol is an oak tree, which is a, traditionally sort of British symbol with the British flag on it. And, the oak tree has got a long history in especially English mythology as being, one of those giant, strong, timeless figures. And you can find it in a lot of different British mythology where the oak tree plays a special role and has a kind of special pride of place. So naturally they looked at it and thought, oh God, that's patriotic, we hate it. And the media will ignore it because it's in no way to their benefit to cover it. Because one of the problems is the media. We want to go against them.
Okay then. Well, that explains a lot then. Now, what do you think about the media's influence in this day and age when many people think the media has no influence over public opinion? Personally, myself, I think they have some influence because a lot of people still don't use the internet or use it to a massive degree. What do you think?
The media has huge influence over public opinion. The very and not just public opinion either, because there's caught coronavirus in London. Doing the live event. I joke, but I don't know that I didn't.
It's possible.
But a bunch of us got sore throats, but I'm going to put it down to the fact we had a big show and, there were lots of people there. And diseases still exist that aren't coronavirus. The media has a huge amount of influence on public opinion, and mainly, I would say, because of public institutions. I agree with you that the average person doesn't really give a shit about the opinions of some editorialist journo in London. However, the people in the public institutions, such as the police, the civil service, the parliamentarians, anything, not just public institutions either, private institutions as well, but institutions themselves, things that can be expected to be written about and care about having bad press, they're all very, very responsive to these things. And so I didn't know when on the day of the day of the event, I didn't know that Tommy Robinson was intending on appearing. He was in London for this Hearts of Oak thing, so he got a ticket and he was just going to come down. And somehow the Met Police learned about this before I did, and approached the venue and said, "Well," and this is what I've heard through being there. So I didn't speak to the venue personally, but the person organising it. This is what they passed on to me. That the police had essentially said, you are not allowed to let Tommy Robinson come to your venue inside the building, and if you do, we will not necessarily directly revoke, but at least investigate your license or something like that. A veiled threat. And so they'd got awfully panicky and said to us, they're not going to allow Tommy Robinson in. And please, can we not talk about him on stage? Neither can we talk about racism or fascism, which I thought was interesting. I mean, I like talking about fascism because it's a lot of people don't understand why it's important to understand the bad things, because you can easily dichotomize it against the things that you believe to be good. So it annoys me that we can't have discussions about, and racism as well. I talk about racism all the time. It's an important subject that we have to talk about. But there was no problem with us with the venue. It was just people asked, well, why couldn't Tommy come in? And we were like, look, we can't actually talk about it, because we didn't want the venue to freak out and close everything down or anything, and out of respect for them, they've been good enough to actually host us. And it's damn difficult to find a host. And it's, it's not something we wanted to provoke with them and cause them trouble. Luckily, at the end of the session, at the end of the next day, they said that it had been a great night, no trouble at all. Everyone was, we were more than welcome to go back there and use the venue again, which is excellent. And I assume that's because they made lots of money because it was a sold-out show. But this is what I mean when I say that the media has huge influence over institutions. The police were only there because it's Tommy Robinson, and the hysteria surrounding Tommy Robinson by the media and the political establishment has made him a monster. And I don't think that he is. I don't think he's a racist. I don't think that he is the thing that they say that he is. And I think that it's very, very cruel to have done this to someone who was speaking about a legitimate problem. I can't think of anything that Tommy Robinson has warned about that hasn't come true. If it's not gangs and cultural colonies in Birmingham or London or wherever else, Rotherham, it's grooming gangs, or it's terrorism, or it's prison radicalization, and he's been right on all of these points. And so to just say, well, he's actually just a racist, it's like, well, he's a racist with a remarkably good record of predicting what's about to happen, so... But yeah, anyway, sorry.
And he's prevented any evidence coming out of him actually being racist, because I'm still yet to see any evidence of him saying anything that can even be considered racist by anyone with half a brain cell.
Well, this is the eternal conundrum with it, isn't it? Whenever for example, I love Toby Young. I love what he's done with the Free Speech Union. I appreciate the fact that someone else is proudly declaring themselves to be a classical liberal. But when he was interviewed the other day asking about the Free Speech Union and if Tommy Robinson could join, he was asked, well, not if he's going to be racist. And the interviewer asked, or Toby volunteered, that he couldn't think of anything that Tommy Robinson had said that was racist. And that's what they always say. And it's very, very frustrating. So it's like, look, if you've got literally no pieces of evidence to say this guy is a racist, could we please stop calling him a racist? It's become a truism, an article of faith. Like, if you think Tommy Robinson is racist, then I can predict your entire worldview, is essentially what it is. And if you don't, then I don't know what you believe. And it's become a kind of litmus test, a kind of comfort barrier for the sort of like Westminster bubble worldview. Oh yeah, no, we all agree Tommy Robinson's racist, and so now we're trapped in this particular mindset where we've anathematized this guy who I genuinely don't think is a racist.
It's like we've all listened to David Lammy. Mm-hmm. That's what you're saying. We've all taken what David Lammy says as fact.
Yeah.
Which moves on nicely, actually, to the next question, moving on from that one, which is the Hearts of Oak movement and free speech, or group. I don't know if you can call it a movement. I struggled with this definition earlier for it. But
I think movement or alliance is good. I think alliance is quite good, because alliance suggests that these are, because it is not a top-down organization, right? So this is why I think alliance is the best phrase to use, the best term to use, because it's people who are their own masters, their own workers, their own activists. They do their own thing, but they're like, there is strength in numbers, and if we're all essentially on agreement on these points, then I don't really care about the rest of it. I'm happy to talk to these people. I'm happy to support them. I'm happy to advocate in the same direction as them under this banner, because this gives us, if like 50,000 people were subscribed to the Hearts of Oak YouTube channel or something. Hearts of Oak has a YouTube channel, by the way. You should subscribe to it. Then it would show that there's a great depth of feeling behind this. If when numbers become very, very large, people start paying attention for the reason I mentioned earlier about the government trying to stay in contact with the public's current sort of common mind. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Now the alliance is based around defending free speech. Whose free speech does that include or exclude? Because plenty of organisations or groups before claim to be for free speech, but will still ignore or refuse to discuss certain opinions which might be considered racist or bigoted in this day and age.
Yeah, now that's where I think we're going to be more. Well, I know I personally am more open to discussing anything. I've debated people from literally every end of the political spectrum, and they're all up on YouTube still.
And
they
been
still
smeared
haven't been
for
taken
it.
down and been smeared for it, exactly. In opposition normally, and despite these people often having their channels taken down, my interviews or debates with them are still live and up. So that's interesting, I think. But yeah, I personally think that free speech is a human right. So even bigots have a right to free speech. And if we believe in rights, then we have to believe in the rights of people we actually despise. That includes bigots, that includes terrorists, that includes lots of things. Lots of things that that includes SJWs, that includes communists, unfortunately, I have to be committed to the human rights of communists.
Which I suppose is a benefit of the loose alliance that it is, rather than all being directed from above. You can do as and what you please. Okay, so that clears up a few things for us.
But the thing is, I think that the thing to make clear here is, I do not believe that any of the people involved are racists or even sympathetic to racism. But I do think they are very firm on these sort of core, traditionally liberal values, that human rights are inalienable, whether you like it or not.
As everyone is, or most people, I would say, are.
Yeah, most people are. Most people actually... most people don't like racism and don't like racists.
But it's very hard to come across racists, especially in this day and age when everyone's a racist. The term is losing all meaning.
The word racism basically means nothing now, to be honest. There's no proper definition for it, and therefore everyone's talking at cross purposes. But for everyone listening, think the way that I've been trying to crack this problem is by suggesting people think about the definition of race. When they say institutional racism, then what they're saying is racism is an extrinsic property, an external property to the individual, right? That's not how I personally think of racism, and I think most people think of racism as something focused around the individual and properties of that individual, as in the race. Therefore, to believe that, you must believe that human races exist, and if they didn't, how would we tell people, brown people from white people? What would be the cause of the skin coloration if it wasn't for the DNA of the people themselves? So there are aggregate differences in groups of human beings. That's, skin color, height, eye color. There are lots of different, so race is a thing that exists, and anthropology textbooks will teach you this. They can identify people's races based on their bones alone. Same with gender, incidentally. But so from our perspective, I would say, we believe that race is a thing. Whether you think that's politically actionable or not is whether, depends on which political group you fall into. But racism is generally agreed to be an opinion. It's generally agreed to be a negative opinion about certain groups of people. But that's the thing that happens inside the individual's head. When they say, it's systemic racism, it's, systematic, institutional. Well, then that's nothing to do with any individual. That's nothing to do with your opinion. That's nothing to do with your physical person or someone else's physical person. It's all abstract. So the essentially, when they start going on the conversation about that, calling you a racist is ridiculous, because I'm not that institution. I'm not a part of that institution. I don't have anything to do with that institution. So why would you call me a racist? What sense does it make?
Okay, then that moves us perfectly on to our next question now, which is something you touched on at the beginning and is important to me, along with a couple of the other subjects that are in your issues page on the website. And that is the Pakistani rape gangs, or grooming gangs for those with sensitive ears, like the media. Now, we all know the governments have hushed up this report, and I plan to launch a petition to the government, as you know, in the mad hope it will pressure them to release the report. That is, when they open the petition committee, hopefully in the next few weeks. What is the plan of attack for Hearts of Oak on this most pressing of issues that needs to be tackled outside of getting the report released?
I think it's just going to be about getting the signatures on that petition. I'll obviously support that petition when it's launched. I think it's an excellent idea that we petition the government. Is that going to be on the government's own website?
Yeah, it's the best place to do it.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Don't do a change.org one.
No, I've seen a couple of them already. They're not worth the effort.
No, they're not. They're not. But on the parliamentary website would be something 100% worth supporting. And I strongly recommend that people ask other YouTubers to promote it too. You and me, we're just two men sort of thing. If we can get, I mean, God, there are some big names who might be interested. So, this would be definitely something worth pushing for. But I really think that should be the primary focus, because we all know that they're going to have found that these people reference Islam as a reason that they're doing what they're doing repeatedly, because a lot of us have read previous reports that have been in there. We've read the court depositions and transcriptions. We've read the media reporting on the things that they say. We've spoken to the victims who tell us that they say that their religion permits this. So I think that's the reason that they're too afraid to release it. And I think that we need them to release it because I think the country desperately needs to have a proper conversation about Islam that unfortunately might hurt some feelings. And it might be necessary that some feelings are hurt. Some people might have to be offended. I'm sorry, but I think that the damage has gone too far, and I really think that it's necessary for us to talk about it.
I think more than feelings are going to be hurt when they release that report, that is for sure. Now, personally, I think there will be uproar and possible riots. What's your opinion on that?
I think that the media reporting will not be as voluminous as they would be if Tommy Robinson had done something actually racist. And so I think that the extent of the reaction will be limited by the damage control that the media will do. And those people who are outraged, as in us, they're going to call Nazis because we're really annoyed that there are legalized rape gangs in this country, basically. It's wild. I just can't say it with a straight face because it sounds ridiculous. It sounds like something out of a fiction, like this would never happen. And not in this country where we have the rule of law, an understanding that everyone should be under the same laws, and that if you're having sex with a 12-year-old, that makes you a criminal under all circumstances. I don't know why we even have to have this discussion, but again, it's just going to show you the problems, doesn't it?
Now, we also had the cover-up for decades relating to MPs like Cyril Smith. Will the group be pushing for more reports on the filth within Parliament, like the rape gangs we have just been speaking about?
I don't believe it's a primary priority, but I would be shocked if there wasn't... I would be shocked if there was a single person associated with this that wouldn't love to see something done about it.
Okay, that's great. Now we'll move on to stronger immigration controls and defending British national identity. Now, we both know, as do our viewers, it's under constant attack from the shitweasels at the BBC and other media outlets. We see mass immigration, for instance, the EU's policies that call for this mass immigration to increase birth rates across Europe. I expect you would have seen the demographic comments in most videos on YouTube relating to policies that want to bring people from anywhere and everywhere to increase Western birth rates, as I've said, for cheap, almost slave-like labour that will follow in the future, among other things. Which, as I said to you earlier off mic, the Democrats in America are also calling for the same thing.
Yeah, the ideology is a shared ideology between them. Essentially, it is communistic in nature, and I don't necessarily mean that they want the Soviet Union either, because the end form of communism is a stateless, classless, propertyless society, and that's what they're trying to get to. And borders are one way of achieving that, and opening borders is one way of achieving that, because essentially you destroy the value of labor, and you're essentially going to turn them all into serfs. Of giant corporations, which is something that Steve Bannon got some surprisingly good reaction on Bill Maher for, when he pointed out that, look, you guys are getting screwed, and open borders is part of the reason. And you could see Bill Maher having trouble countering that because it's obviously true. But yes, mass immigration. There are many layers to the motivations behind it. And they're all quite grim, to be honest. I don't think I approve of a single one. And so by the end of it, all I can say is that mass immigration is at the very most charitable interpretation is a way of exploiting the poor people in your country, and it's totally irresponsible with regards to literally any other aspect of life when it comes to like the cultural fabric of the nation, the general health of the nation, whether people like the way that things are going, and to make sure that they're going to continue on with the current political order. Mass immigration is a crazy idea because essentially it relies on all of the people in your country being like wealthy enough to do charity for others. And there are lots of people who are just not wealthy enough to do charity for others. These are the people we do charity for, and they have to suffer the consequences of mass immigration. And I think it's like we should start being clear about this. There are victims of mass immigration, actual, honest to God, victims of the policies of Tony Blair, victims of policies of Angela Merkel opening the borders. I've read so many of just accounts of rapes by migrants that are so awful, and you become kind of numb to it, to be honest, when you've been going through these accounts, and you just think, right, okay, I just, even if these people have real problems, putting them in society is not the way to solve them, because the cultural differences are so drastic that the damage caused to the people in the society is something you can't ask of them. And the phrase, "we were never asked," that I can see why that has such moral weight, because it really matters. People didn't consent to, like, I was Birmingham the other day. The police put out a warning to young ladies walking home from school. So, 14-year-olds walking home from school because, just some immigrant had just raped one on the way back in an alley, and they were like, "Don't walk back by yourselves." It's like, look, man, when we've got to the point where we've got to say to young girls, by the way, it's not safe for you to walk home from school because some guy from another country might violate you, might beat you, and maybe he'll kill you. So, walk, like, it's too far. It's gone too far. We've had 20 years of mass immigration. It hasn't been sunshine and roses, and if anything, I can't think of a single thing about it that I think has been particularly positive. And the only thing they ever say is, well, look at the GDP. Fuck the GDP. I don't care about the GDP at all. Well, look at the number of restaurants we have. Interestingly enough, when I was in Poland recently, I went to a Thai restaurant that was run by Polish people and ate Thai food. Miracles, I know, miracles happen, but basically what I'm saying is cuisine is not, it's like not ethno-nationalist cuisine, Like, other people can make Thai food or Chinese food. They can make fish and chips, it's amazing. So yeah, end mass immigration. It has to end.
Okay, and we'll move on to the final question now, which is the authorities favouring Islam. Something we all know is rampant these days, and to a lesser extent, any minority group or screaming lunatic who identifies as some so-called oppressive group. What are the Alliance's plans in relation to this issue?
Well, Catherine Blakelock had to resign from the Brexit Party because of her comments on Islam, and I would just recommend just Googling Catherine Blakelock and Islam if you want to know what she thinks of the ideology of Islam. The ideology is, of course, not a commentary on any one individual, but the question of Islam, just can we talk about it, as Lord Pearson raised in the House of Lords? Well, the answer would apparently be no. They would have it so that we can't talk about it. But to be honest with you, I think that's totally unacceptable. It goes against our long-standing traditions of religious tolerance in which we debate these things. And if we can't debate these things, then it's just going to come down to us fighting in the streets about these things. And so I think that, unfortunately for the people, that we can just call them the Islamophiles, the people who love Islam, unfortunately for them, we're going to have to talk about the connection between Islam, the doctrine, and some behaviors that some people exhibit. And the fact that we've had plenty. There was a school in Birmingham closed down the other day because of like a preschool that was closed down for fears of radicalization. Radicalization into what? What was being taught? We need to know, don't we? Oh no, don't worry about it. It's just random radicalization. You don't need to know anymore.
Radical feminism.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Well, I definitely want that closed down then. It's even more dangerous than Islam. Yeah. But yeah, no. But there is going to have to be a conversation about Islam, and we're going to have to be able to have it. And this, again, will be one of those platforms we use to have those conversations. And they're going to be difficult, and there's going to be a huge amount of resistance.
And you're instantly a racist.
It's got to be done. Yeah. But it's just got to be done. It's got to be done.
All right, and I fully agree with you on that one, as I'm sure most people do. Now, we're going to end it there. Thank you very much, Sargon, for speaking to me today. I wish both you and the Hearts of Oak movement well.
Thanks very much for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, mate.
Anytime, man, honestly. Thanks for having us on.
Now, guys, Carl's social media, along with the Hearts of Oak links, will be down below in the video description. So go and check them out if you are interested in finding out a bit more about this group as it goes forward. And of course, Carl makes daily videos over on the Akkad Daily channel, so if you're not subscribed over there, then consider doing so. But on that note, guys, I am going to end the video there. Now, before I go, I've started doing live streams and uploading gaming content on my second channel. If you would like to come and join me for a live stream to chat in real time, have an interest in gaming related content on YouTube, or just want to follow me over there because you are a legend, the link will be down in the video description below and as a pinned comment. I hope to see you all there. Now, as always, before I go, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.